OpenAI launched real-time voice handling, translation, and transcription tuned for agents. Microsoft shipped Copilot Studio voice agents with direct SAP integration. Perplexity put their Mac AI agent into public release, and Nvidia dropped Nemotron subagents for voice infrastructure. All of this within 72 hours.
Hey, welcome back to czverse.
So voice has officially become the most contested category in AI. We were looking at 4 massive industry-shaking launches in a single news cycle. And what's wild is that each of these companies is attacking voice from a completely different angle, with their own theory of how it actually becomes the next platform layer. Right, and this is absolutely critical because voice is one of those rare categories that, once it actually works reliably, it just becomes the dominant computing interface. Think about it, we simply don't type when we can talk. We don't tap a screen when we can just speak our minds. Exactly, it's that holy grail shift from hunching over a screen to just talking out loud, for sure. The fundamental question in tech has always been when voice agents would finally cross that usefulness threshold for real mainstream and enterprise adoption. And the answer, apparently, is right now, this quarter.
Right, because let's be real, voice assistants have been around for years, mostly setting timers and misunderstanding us. So why the sudden war now? Well, 3 critical thresholds were crossed in just the last 18 months to make this viable.
Exactly. First up, latency. It finally dropped to natural conversation thresholds, down to that magical 200 to 400 millisecond range. Second, reliability hit consumer acceptance rates. The models don't just instantly break down anymore if there's background noise, or if you use technical vocabulary, or just speak casually. And third, and maybe most importantly, these new models actually understand context.
If you look at the old architecture, voice models were essentially this clunky 3-part game of telephone. You had a speech-to-text pipeline, then a text LLM, and finally a text-to-speech model. And at every single step, you lost critical information.
100%. You lost the tone, the emphasis, the sarcasm, the urgency in someone's voice.
Precisely. But the new generation, it handles audio completely end-to-end. The model directly processes the audio input and directly generates the audio output. It preserves all those crucial non-text subtleties, like a hesitation or frustration. It can even handle conversational repair if you interrupt it mid-sentence. That right there is what makes a business-grade phone call actually possible.
So here's today's fight card. We're looking at OpenAI, Microsoft, Perplexity, and Nvidia. Then we'll dig into the latency wars and finally, who wins each segment. Let's get into it. Starting in the cool green corner, number 1, OpenAI and the Developer API.
Now, while they've obviously had consumer voice in ChatGPT for a bit, this new launch heavily targets the API level.
Right. OpenAI is positioning itself not just as the front-end user experience, but as the underlying infrastructure for developers who are building fully agentic systems.
Breaking down their approach, the absolute standout feature is predictable, real-time translation inline. So it's not that awkward old system where one person speaks, the machine pauses to think, translates, and spits it out.
No, not at all. It's completely inline. It doesn't break the conversational flow whatsoever. It's tuned so an agent can handle a customer in Spanish, seamlessly route it to a human, and immediately summarize it in English for a supervisor. Plus, the most crucial part, native tool use.
Meaning the agent isn't just a talking chatbot anymore. It can actively call APIs, query your databases, and execute transactions while having that voice conversation with you. And for developers, OpenAI is offering mid-tier pricing with massive, massive capability.
Moving over to the cobalt blue corner, number 2, Microsoft, Enterprise, and SAP. So where OpenAI sells the API for developers to build the experience, Microsoft is selling the end-to-end product. They're launching Copilot Studio voice agents, and their absolute killer feature here is direct SAP integration.
Which is huge because for most Fortune 500 enterprises, SAP is the ultimate system of record. It's finance, HR, supply chain. Connecting a Copilot voice agent to SAP means an executive can literally pick up their phone, ask for a revenue breakdown, and get a verbal answer pulled straight from real-time data.
Exactly. And the real killer use case here is cryptographic voice approval flows. Imagine a CFO authorizing a massive payment simply by saying approve over a phone call. The agent submits the SAP transaction and logs the cryptographic identity, meaning it mathematically proves it was your specific voice that gave the okay. It's a total game changer for travel or board meetings where typing just isn't happening.
And because it's bundled right into Microsoft 365 enterprise plans, it inherently favors those large corporations that already trust Microsoft's Azure infrastructure and security certifications. It's a very smart play.
Next up, the warm amber corner, number 3, Perplexity, the prosumer choice.
Perplexity has been growing incredibly fast as an AI search engine, but they just put their Mac AI agent into public release. This is really their attempt to extend from just search into always-on general desktop assistant.
Yeah, and it's an entirely different vibe from the enterprise or developer play. Their target here is the prosumer. Developers, creators, professionals who will actually pay out of pocket for a premium experience. By going Mac native, they are leveraging Apple's M-series chips to run this hybrid local and cloud performance that is just incredibly fast.
Plus, they hold a major trust advantage. We all know hallucinations are still a huge problem in AI, but Perplexity relies on strict, real-time source citation. So when their voice agent answers a question, it actually cites sources, giving you pop-up visual cards. For $20 a month, it's the ultimate indie underdog strategy to capture a highly lucrative desktop segment. Finally, the electric green corner. Number 4, Nvidia as the infrastructure supplier. Now, this is a highly technical release. Nvidia dropped Nemotron sub-agents, entirely avoiding the front-end experience layer. They have zero interest in building the consumer product. They just want to be the picks and shovel supplier for everyone else's voice stacks.
Okay, but for everyone listening, what exactly is a sub-agent?
Good question. Nemotron provides pre-built modular sub-agents for speech-to-text, intent extraction, and text-to-speech. If you are building a voice product or even physical AI, like humanoid robots and autonomous vehicles, you don't have to build the voice pipeline from scratch anymore. You just license NVIDIA's proven components.
Which literally accelerates development by months. And since it's bundled with NVIDIA AI Enterprise, it's a completely frictionless upsell for the companies already buying NVIDIA GPUs anyway. They are quite literally the infrastructure powering everyone else in this fight.
So, where do these 4 competitors actually clash? The customer service battlefield.
Yeah, it's a multi-hundred-billion-dollar market where human cost is exceptionally high and the queries have very defined paths.
The clear pattern emerging here is that vertical agents win the verticals. A startup using OpenAI's API to build a highly compliant agent specifically tailored for health insurance is going to outcompete a generic horizontal agent in that specific space every single time.
Exactly. The platforms provide the broad horizontal foundation, but deep integration is what actually wins specific verticals. And a really crucial part of this is graceful human-in-the-loop escalation. Let's face it, voice agents in customer service don't operate 100% autonomously yet. They handle the easy queries and seamlessly escalate complex cases to humans, passing along the full context so the human doesn't miss a beat.
But listen, none of this works without speed. That brings us to number 5, the latency wars. Because honestly, no matter how smart the AI is, if there's a 3-second pause before it answers you, boom, the illusion is completely broken. Exactly. Network and inference speeds are the ultimate deciding factors for whether a conversation actually feels natural, and 200 milliseconds is the magic number. Once you get under 200 milliseconds, an AI feels practically indistinguishable from talking to a really fast human. And that's hard to do. Network transit time alone eats up about 30 milliseconds just moving data across North America. When you add model inference, the time it takes the AI to actually think and generate a response, hitting 200 milliseconds requires aggressive engineering at literally every single layer of the stack. Looking at a side-by-side analysis, this race is incredibly tight right now. OpenAI is sitting around 320 milliseconds. Microsoft Copilot is 350 to 400. Perplexity on Mac hits an impressive 280 milliseconds locally and 380 in the cloud. And Nvidia Nemotron hovers right around 300 depending on the vendor.
So they are all sitting in that acceptable 200 to 400 millisecond window. Nobody really has a runaway lead yet, but Perplexity's hybrid local cloud architecture proves that pushing processing to local edge devices, like your Mac, is the real key to breaking that sub-200 millisecond barrier, plus it adds massive privacy benefits. It ties perfectly into why they went after that prosumer market.
So, who actually takes the crown? Let's look at the winners.
The reality is, there isn't a single winner who takes all. We are looking at a multi-vendor future where each competitor completely dominates a specific, highly lucrative segment. For developers and startups building voice products, OpenAI wins. They have the API, the community, and the fastest iteration cycle.
For the legacy enterprise segment, Microsoft absolutely takes the crown. That SAP integration and the Microsoft 365 bundling are just too deeply entrenched for big corporations to ignore.
For Mac power users and creative professionals, Perplexity is the winner. Their source citations and Mac-native desktop experience lock down the prosumer.
And finally, for hardware and infrastructure, NVIDIA wins everywhere. Because at the end of the day, no matter whose experience layer you're using, it is almost certainly running on NVIDIA's silicon.
But there is one final massive wildcard to throw into this ring: Apple. Apple Intelligence might be years behind right now, but they hold a 2 billion device distribution advantage. 2 billion.
Right. And if iOS 27 integrates third-party AI models under the hood, letting extensions power native Apple Intelligence features, Apple's ecosystem could simply become the default distribution channel for whoever wins the under-the-hood model war.
So it's a multi-vendor future. We want to know in the comments who gets your voice, which agent are you most excited to use, or which one are you already building with? Tell us down below. We genuinely read every single one.
This has been czverse. We'll see you in the next one.